Good afternoon and welcome to Overcomers Talk. I am your host, Minister Carrie Ann Zamore. You probably heard us talking before we even went live because we are so excited about this topic. And this is such a topic that, this is such a very relevant topic today. And so make sure we're talking about men overcoming hurt. And so I want you to make sure right now, get your phones, get your iPads, your desktop, whatever device you're on, that's you guys too, if you have your devices, go ahead and share this. I want you to share this with at least 50 people that you know. Why am I asking you to do this? You will be able to really help deliver and save somebody's life, I believe, from today's show. So go ahead and share it, and then I'm going to introduce this absolutely wonderful panel. My co host, you know her. She is the amazing, the beautiful, the fabulous, highly intelligent Dr. Elizabeth Jennings.
What an introduction.
Well, hey, Liz,
Thank
it's
you,
the
thank
truth.
you.
It's the truth. That's why.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
Awesome. And I'm so excited about this topic we had last year. Chris, you've been here before.
Yes, ma'am.
Last year, we had a panel of men where we talked about some hard topics. But this year, we're going in a little different direction. We're talking about the men overcoming hurt. Last year, we talked about men who had been abused by domestic violence. And we also talk about men, particularly black men, who experience the fear, overcoming the fear of law enforcement. This year, we're talking about men overcoming hurt. And our panel today is Chris Owusu. Hey, welcome.
Greetings.
Welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know we're down for some really, really good nuggets from you today.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And welcome in for the first time, but surely not the last. And that's Raymond. I love saying this name. I absolutely Chinky Fat.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's like your real name.
Yes, that's my real name.
The first time he told me that was his name, I was like, okay, what is your government name? And he said, that's my government name. I said, no, it's not.
It's pronounced Chinky Fat.
Chinky Fat.
Yes, ma'am.
Chinky Fat. Raymond Chinky Fat, a man of a lot of wisdom. And you also have a magazine called The Underground.
The Underground Monthly. Yes,
The
ma'am.
Underground Monthly. And so, I like to plug people's businesses when they come on here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And then I am meeting for the first time, and I hope it won't be your last time to the Overcomers Talk, Mr. Dalton Rudd.
Yes, it's actually the second time.
It sure is. I forgot you were here and I wasn't here. Dalton, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to be here. Okay, so right now you should have shared with at least 50 people. Now I'm going to tell you to share with another 50 people and ask the persons that you shared with, tell them to share it with somebody else, right? Now, Dr. Liz, I'm going to let you take it away.
Well, first of all, I am blessed and honored that these men are on the panel. I know them all personally. I've actually done podcasts with each of them separately, and during that experience, I learned a lot of personal things about these gentlemen. They are very strong men of character, but I also learned that they have a story. We all have a story behind the man, the person that you see. And usually we talk a lot about women and women sharing their experience. And rarely do you hear men encouraged to share their openness about their experiences, what they've been through. And so it was really important for us to following mental health, following suicide, depression, to follow that up in regards to men and the experiences they had.
Yeah.
So I am grateful that all of you are here. I know that you all have some wisdom, experiences that's going to help our audience. And so we are going to just engage in a conversation. There are people who are hurt, men, women, just by experiences. And so allowing a platform where we're able to share, to have this dialogue is so important. And so, Carrie Ann, I'm so grateful that you are here to facilitate and be a part of this conversation so that we can really kind of dive deep into that. So I would like to start with a question for our panel of men. When it comes to rejection and men experiencing that, I just wanted you to kind of go and talk about your personal experience, maybe one experience that you've had that's impacted you in regards to rejection. We'll start there.
Okay, I'm curious. Rejection in what?
Because that's a pretty deep one.
Yeah, because
Yep.
I'm like, because I don't, rejection, as, man, I don't know where to go with that one.
Maybe let's start with the journey. So let's start with childhood.
Okay.
So
Okay,
do
okay.
you have any experiences you've had rejection that you've experienced in childhood that you are okay to share?
Oh yeah. You want to go?
Go ahead.
Well, me personally, growing up and having a odd look, I would say. Well, now it's not odd, but growing up, I had an odd look, so I was teased a lot. I was called, big head. I was teased for my large lips, my dark skin tone, and so those things I was not in the in crowd, and I used to have a speech impediment as well. So all these things combined, and I was constantly rejected. So what I did was it really helped me not to personalize things as an adult. I learned early on that what people say to you is a little bit of what they're going through, things that they may have experienced, and things people are projecting at times. So the rejection really started young. I was used to being rejected, honestly. As an adult, now if I'm not rejected, I don't take it personally. I look at it as, okay, you could be going through a number of things. It could have been traffic. You might not have had your coffee. You could have had an argument with your dog. Wait, okay, anyways. Well, you could have had an argument with your significant other. And so a lot of things now I don't take personally, but the hurt early on was internalized. But I learned to empathize with other human beings as a teacher. So that's how I dealt with the rejection early on.
Thank you.
So to add to that, I want to look at it at a different perspective, and to just tackle perspectives. I think we've all had that rejection, especially growing up as kids, right? Even if it's simple as you're not playing on the team because you're not good enough. I grew up in southern Louisiana, so it's you can't do this because we still had the racism.
Right.
So it's really for African American males or even females, you kind of get that that thought that I'm not good enough because all the positive things that we saw was darkness, black is evil, black is bad, white is light, white is good.
Right on.
So it was important even now it's important for us as parents to really enforce a positive perspective on our kids, on how they look at things, and really to learn that this is a learning experience. You're not losing, you're learning. So even as adults, we have to have a perspective. We have to allow God to change our perspective, right? So we have to push that on our kids on, okay, this is how you look at things, and understand that, like Chris said, what they put on me is something that they're going through. So really understand that because they might be distancing or rejecting me, it's something that they have or something that they're going through internally.
Right.
Yeah.
And just learning to not internalize it,
Right.
to really look and say, you know what? Yeah, I am good enough. So it's all about perspective, and I think we need to, really push that on our kids on really how am I going to look at this, and really they'll learn from it because it's something that as an adult I'm still learning.
Right.
Just want to add to something. When you said that, the first time I really understood what rejection meant, I was 9 years old and I was in Virginia. I'm a New Yorker, and every summer my grandfather used to take us down to Virginia to work on my auntie's farm. He felt that built character, and I didn't think so, but he thought it did. But I never forget. And her farm, she had this huge farm, and like she would supply the local grocery stores with dairy products and stuff like that. So every summer we would go down and get all the stuff and take them and transport everything, do all the work and everything. And I never forget, me and my grandfather was walking. We had just dropped everything off and had to use the bathroom, and we went into this little cafe type restaurant. And we walked in there, and my grandfather asked him if I could use the bathroom, and the man looked at him and said, "We don't serve your kind here." And I was 8. I never forget this. I was 8, and I didn't understand what that meant. And I thought he meant like, we don't take kids here. That's what my mind was at. And So we were walking out, I asked my grandfather what did he meant, and my grandfather told me. And what I learned two things about that. First, my grandfather never hid anything from me, which I do, like you said, I instill in my kids today. I don't hide anything from them. If they come home or they have questions about certain things, I literally let them know what this is and why this happened, and how to handle it in the future. And I also that built a wall around me growing up, because the trust issue became real to me. Like, I didn't understand racism. You heard about it, you knew about it, but you, like, as a child, you hope you never see it as a child. Right. But it made me grow up a lot faster, because now I see the world differently. And it wasn't until I got probably until I joined the military that I started being around different cultures. Like, growing up in Nook, it was normal to be around different cultures. We didn't see racism like that, even though we lived in different boroughs. But it was different, so that's why I wanted to jump on the back when you say when we see things like that, when we get that rejection, when we figure out what it is, and then as we get older, we start to instill that in our children, or even in just children in general. If you're a mentor, if you have kids, but you instill that in them to let them know that it's okay, that all this is going to happen. We just have to teach them how to respond to it, so they can grow from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your question on rejection was great, because it leads up to so many other things. Like you said about the wall.
Yeah.
So if you have that rejection, you can build that wall.
Yeah, you do. You do it.
Even as parents, you might feel like it's discipline. If your kids don't have that understanding, they may interpret it as rejection. And when you come up with homes where both parents worked, and they can't go to those basketball games, or you can't do this because, or I can't talk to you right now because I'm tired. I just came back home.
I just walked in the house.
That's, and so a kid, that will hurt a kid. And so that leads to the, what am I worth?
Yeah.
Low self-esteem.
That's good.
You get to the depression. And so it leads to other things. So.
Yeah. No, thank you guys for that. Let me apologize. I have been studying for this conversation and really listening to conversations that men have. And I realized that a lot of men put on a face, put on a guard.
Right.
And underneath that guard, sometimes it takes so much to get to the root of that. We are here today to break down those walls and to really allow people to feel. The questions that are posed to you, I am hoping that those that are in the audience, if we have men that are dealing with hurt, that they would hear it too and answer these questions for themselves and allow themselves to go through a process where they finally get to communicate things that they've never thought about before.
Right.
All they've experienced is the reaction to what might have been underneath that. So thank you so much for starting this conversation and being open enough to just hit it where it hits you and being able to kind of share. So let's talk now about how we define rejection. You guys did a really good job kind of talking about some experiences, and you did a really good job, Dalton, of talking about the perspective of it. So can you kind of just give a personal definition of what rejection means to you?
I think, personally, rejection is the definition of rejection. You can have a definition, but I think it means something different to each person. I think with each person, their definition of rejection, like we were talking about earlier, my definition of rejection may be just to hear the words no, or to hear you telling me I can't do something. But other people may see action as far as you not acknowledging them on something they did good, or you not giving them the love that they're looking for, and that's another form of a definition of rejection. So it just, to me, it depends on who it falls on. But as far as the rejection is concerned, when they go through it, I think a lot of us have a tendency to not say anything, and then it just builds up instead of just openly, say what we feel about. Because again, for men, we can't say we feel rejected.
Right.
We can't tell you I don't think you're giving me the love I deserve, because as a man, I'm supposed to just, okay, well, it's going to be all right. I'm good. And so it manifests. And then it manifests not only in us, but then it manifests in our relationship. Because now, if I don't feel that you're giving me the love I deserve, then guess what? I'm going to do it in return. Or you're going to start feeling that because I feel that you, and we're not saying nothing to each other.
Yeah.
And then it's not as manifesting in that relationship or in my children's relationship and so forth and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, especially that no, and that acceptance in dealing with men. And that is another misconception on what defines a man. And the difference between emotional and feminine. You can be emotional as a man. You should be emotional as a man, but we perceive emotion as feminine. And so that confuses a lot of young boys, and that confusion sticks to them as a man. So they grow into a man that for one don't want to show emotion. So without showing that emotion, they might send the wrong signal to their spouse or their companion, so they're not getting something in return. They feel rejection, so it's a continuous cycle.
Yeah. Chris?
Oh, well, they give a phenomenal definition of rejection. And in Dalton, I love how he expounded on like how manhood is unfairly defined. They use adjectives that limit what a man is, and we restrict our emotion in a young age.
At a young age.
I see a lot of my students when I ask them, because we have a thing on Fridays where they have to compliment one another, and you should see the struggle the boys have with saying something nice, and the boys, they connect saying something nice to a young man as gay. They're like, oh, that's gay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, finish.
Oh, and they automatically, like, they don't understand that you can express a fond affirmation for a man or a woman, and it be 100% healthy.
Right.
And so I like how you pointed that out, and that as we need to start them young and help the young man early express themselves.
And I was going to add on that, and it's a double-edged sword for men, because in one moment, you want us to express, as men, you want us to express ourselves. How many times women say, well, you don't talk to me, you don't say, but in the same sense, you would teach your son not to cry at certain things.
Yes.
You teach your son to be a man and not do certain things. But then when he get older, the next woman has him, and she's trying to figure out why he's not, expressing himself
Why he's not
emotional.
expressive.
And it's a cycle, and because again, like as far, especially with like, I'm a military man, so I have it on both ends. Like I have military where you will never hear that conversation unless I'm carrying it with other military people. And then I have me just being a black man where I have to be strong on that end as well. So it's almost like I said, it's heavy on us because again, we have to find that confidant. We have to find that person that we can get that off our shoulders to, and that's so hard because as men, how many guys want to sit back and be like, "Hey, bro, I need to talk to you, man. I got some feelings. I got," and it's not. I mean, it's comical as far as like I'm joking, but in the same sense, it's serious because because it's hard to. We don't want to be judged as men, because I don't want to come to this man and tell him how I'm feeling, and now he looking at me like this dude really crying right now, and not. But I'm saying, and it's hard for men to do that without having that judgment. Or I go to a woman, and now you looking at me like, is this dude crying? Because again, women have that same judgment where they see men as a certain thing, and then when you get a guy and he's not the strong guy you expecting, or he's not the thug that you looking for, he's a punk, or he's not. And I'm being honest, but he's that. Yeah. And then we get that rejection from women. Yeah. And now you don't know, and that's why I said when we was talking about the definition of what a man is, you got so many because you got one woman telling you this is what I think a man, or you're not manly enough because you're not doing this. Then you got another woman that's telling you, well, you're not a man because you're not paying this or doing this. It's financial on this side, it's emotional on this side, and then you got society telling you as a man what you should be doing. And so, it's like, okay, I don't know where to go. So that's why a lot of times we sit back and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna be the best man I can.
Right.
And then we just gonna work it out. We'll work it out down the line somewhere.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's the truth.
Or
Yeah.
the best man you can be in each situation.
Right.
And
Roger.
now you having trouble with your own identity.
Right.
Man,
right.
I'm glad you said
You
yes.
have your
yes.
identity confusion.
Yes.
So it sounds to me, Ray, like what you were talking about is really overcoming the stigmas of what society has placed on what the definition of man
man
is,
Right.
number one, and then how do men really address hurts. And so that hurt from childhood, like, Chris, I listened to you when you say that it was physical, physical features, and that was your first step or your first identification with rejection. How did that take root for you in your life? That initial growing up, because you said you were from a very young child.
Yes.
So in your identity formation, those formative years as you're beginning to trust people outside of your own household, how did that take root in your life, that feeling of just not being?
Well, for me, if I can be transparent, it really took place to where I would be, well, first, I just thought I was ugly. Like, okay, you're just ugly. And so I got to work on my personality. So I started to
So you said,
Yeah.
we have to dial that back.
Okay.
So are you saying you were physically ugly or your personality
Well,
became ugly?
He felt his personality was ugly, so
Okay.
he started working on his personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt so. Yeah, exactly. So since I was early on, hey, you're ugly, African booty scratcher, ill, look at your lips, and this ends constantly. And so,
Yeah.
what it
But
did
you know
was-
what? That's important. I want you to hold that and don't forget what you were about to say, because when you say negative words to children, right, and they begin to take those negative words internally, it becomes who they are. And it's like, if I constantly have to defend how I look when I wake up in the morning at home and at school, then I'm just going to be negative. I'm going to crack a joke about myself before you can, and then I'm going to be nasty to you because I'm expecting you to be nasty to me. That's all. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's all rejection. So when you have kids that grow up and they have these nasty personalities, you got to go back to the root in it. Why? Why did you become so nasty? Because you weren't born nasty.
Right.
Okay, so keep on talking. I told you, don't forget your train of
Okay.
thought.
Okay. I'm back on the train. I'm back on the train. So what it did was it allowed me to. I had to work on like my personality, because I knew that at the time, like, man, no one's gonna want me for how I look. I mean, certainly if all these people are saying the same thing, it has to be true. And so what I did was I internalized the comments about my looks. Okay, this is obviously something's wrong with me. God didn't do this correctly. What was going on when God made me? Why did my parents not choose a better whatever? And so I internalized it, but I did start to work on my personality, and I started to read early on to try to figure out like what I was good at. And so that's how it worked on for me. But what you said was something powerful, because in my students, when I see students that are just automatically negative, they want to say something negative to another student, I always pull them outside, and I always find that the root is usually what they're seeing at home. The parents are bickering, or either they've been like constantly ridiculed early on in their formative years, and so now that's all they know to do. And like you said, they figure I'm gonna attack you first before I'm attacked, and so that mindset really helped me to understand the root of the issue and speak life to the student early on to try to just reform who they are.
Wow.
Can I say something? What you said? The reason I was laughing about what you said, because when I was growing up, my grandfather used to have this saying, like, if anybody know me or seen me, whenever I see a black woman, they know how I always speak. How you doing, beautiful? How you doing, whatever it is a term of endearment. I always give it, because growing up, my grandfather used to always say you should always give a black woman a term of endearment, because you never know how their day was or how their life been.
That's good.
Because just like that, same thing, you can see, we see, especially as kids, how many times you like a girl, and what do? You torment her because you like her. But we don't understand that, what that play on her part. Like, you push her down, and, or you ugly, but we really like you, but we don't know how to express that.
Yep.
So we say negative things to you, and in return, now you have a complex about yourself. And that's how when you said that, because again, that's how I was raised. Like, whatever I see, how you doing, beautiful, because because I don't know what she's going through.
That's good.
Somebody, again, may have said something, to her negative like that, like, oh, look at your lips. Oh, my God, you look funny. But now it's an affirmation, you're beautiful. And as black men, we don't say that. I would never walk up to you and be like, man, you're a beautiful man.
I appreciate it.
But I mean, you are. I don't get me wrong.
You
Yes,
should.
yes, sir. I'm saying, but I'm saying, as men, we're not
Right.
raised that way. We're not raised to say that about each other. I'm raised to say that. I was saying that because I was raised to say that about you, but I wasn't raised to say that about you.
Yeah.
And again, we don't give our roses to our men until they're way too late, and then oh, he was a good brother. Oh, that was my dude. But we don't never say that when they're here.
Right.
And that's why and I understand when you said that. Growing up in New York, we used to, man, that was rampant. That was, and we learned how.
It's called joning, right?
Joning.
Yeah,
We used to
joning on each
We used to call
other.
it panning and joning, but it wasn't meant to put you down because we roast on each other.
Right.
But it wasn't meant to put you down. But like when you say that now, you don't understand that might have been a
Right.
trick or something. And so I was just saying that when you said that, it made me think about when I was a kid and because you said I had to work on my personality.
Yeah.
I said, okay.
Yeah. No, that was good. So thank you guys for kind of taking us through a journey of childhood and different experiences. There was something that was said that I want to just transition us into. You guys talked about the mask that you have to wear in different situations. And, very rarely did you get a chance to take off that mask and truly exist and be who you are or experience what you might be experiencing. A lot of men who deal with hurt, they wear those masks, right? They wear these roles at home, at work, in life. There's expectations that's placed on them. Maybe what I would love to hear a little bit about is if we talk about what stops men from taking off that mask, first of all, and what would allow men the space to be able to take off that mask.
Well, one being military, and I want to cover not just military, but on the military side, it's one of those where you suck it up and drive on. You have to be tough. You continue to roll on. There's a perception that, you're hard, you have no feelings. And so that's another issue with identity because you're really one way on duty. And then you have to kind of wind it down at home. But that being said, even if you're not the military, you want to be Superman for the wife, Superman for the kids, or Superman for mom or your brothers, sisters that may have had a loss, but you're going through your own things. But you don't want to seem vulnerable, weak, and so you don't want to let that wall down. You don't want to open up. And really, until you surround yourself around some people, brothers that come from that same that had that loss, that you're not afraid to open up to. And it's about surrounding yourself around good men.
That's right.
Men that are understanding, men that have that empathy, men that are comfortable in themselves,
Right.
so that they can lower their own walls down, and you see that. Men that lead by example, because you also have men that will try to tell you some things, and you can see that they're going through the same thing, but they're not lowering those walls.
Yeah.
Because we see through each other.
Yeah.
So we know, okay, yeah, you're giving me the same game I'm giving you.
You got the same.
So we just continue to bounce back, and nobody wants to let that wall down. It's like two sides going back and forth, but nobody wants to be the one to give an inch first.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you really have to, really look at it. And it's all about also going to God. You really have to go to God, because as men, we hide from God too. I don't know why we do it. We think that God doesn't know that we're vulnerable. Right. We think God doesn't know our heart, but we will isolate. We will run from our friends. We will run from church. We will just go to ourselves like God doesn't know what we're going through.
Exactly. I like that word that you said, isolate, because that's when the mask is really set,
Yes.
right? Is that isolation that even in a crowd of people, you're still isolated.
Yes.
Right? You're still isolated, unable to speak. If you are just joining us now, we have been talking with a panel of men. We're talking men overcoming hurt. We're going back to childhood. We're talking about rejection. We're also addressing the stigmas that society has placed on men and really defining what is a man. So make sure that you have shared this with 50 people and then 50 more people. We will be right back because we're going to take a short break so that we can get a word from our sponsor, and then we will be right back. So don't go anywhere because we're going to come right back. And I hope you share this with your daddy and your brother and your uncle and your neighbor and everybody else. We'll be right back.
Calling all ladies. It's that time again. It's time for Styles Conference.
November 18th through the 21st.
You do not want to miss this power-packed time in the Lord. We have some terrific guests lined up for you. Apostle Highwalker, Apostle Sadler, as well as Pastor Latasha Johnson. Now, Toya, you have been to many style conferences in the past.
Come back,
What should they expect out of a style conference?
They should definitely expect an impactful time in the Lord where there will be deliverance, there'll be healing, there'll be some uprooting of some old things. It's going to be awesome. We'll have an awesome fellowship with each other and as well fellowship with the Lord.
Awesome. And and I like what you said, uprooting some old things, because this year's theme is what happened in the closet. We're going to go back to that time in your life that something took root, that there was a stronghold that was developed. And what we aim to do through these dynamic women of God and through the Holy Spirit is to pull that thing up so that you can be delivered and that you can have a purpose-filled life in the Lord. So I'm excited about what they are going to receive, what we are going to receive.
Yes.
Are you ready to receive?
I'm ready to receive.
I am ready to receive as well. So make sure you join us November 18th through 21st, right here at 1801 Rancier at Open Fire International Fellowship Church. Please make sure that you do register to reserve your seat, and the registration link is right here, so make sure you register. And guess what? Childcare is available.
Yes.
Childcare is available.
Childcare is available, so there's no excuse.
No excuse to stay home. So see you November 18th through 21st at this year's Style Conference.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other one was younger boys.
And welcome back to Overcomers Talk. I am your host, Minister Carrie Ann Zamore. And we have been talking with men overcoming hurt. And so if you're just joining us now, make sure you go ahead and you share this because we are talking about some powerful things here. And you know what? When we first introduced, I was remiss in giving honor to where honor is due. And that is to the visionaries of this show. And that is Senior Pastor Lincoln Coffey, as well as Assistant Pastor April Coffey. I know they're watching and they're enjoying the show. And so back to this topic, Dr. Liz, oh my gosh, we've really been getting a whole lot of nuggets from these men.
Yes, we have. Even during the break, like I was just so in tune to share. You guys know that as a coach, I work with women, but I also work with men, and that's why having this space to allow people to be able to hear just some honesty about hurt and the root of it and where it exists, and the fact that it is okay to use your voice. It is okay for men to talk. It is okay for men to find a safe space, and it starts with us having role models and leaders. And so I want to thank you all and thank our panel for being willing to be so open and transparent on this topic. Before we went into the break, Dalton gave some really great insights on what it feels like to have that mask for men, and how do you start taking that off. And I know, Sol, Raymond, that you wanted to chime in on that also. What's your take on that question?
10 years ago, I lost my daughter, and that was like the hardest thing I've ever been through. And being a man, it devastated me, but I couldn't show that. Like for a long time, I couldn't express that because I got three little ones. Then my wife, and so when that hit me, it was like I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know how to share that. Like I didn't know who to go to because I've never known nobody who lost a child. Yeah. So it's like, how do you go to somebody and be like, I need to talk to you, when you know they don't know what you're going through, and it was hard, and for years, years, I held that in because I always thought that was a man is supposed to do. We supposed to, you swallow that in, you hold that, you just push that down, and then you drive on. You put the kids on your back, pick your wife up, and you move on to the next chapter. And we were talking about this before. I was literally just talking about this before, and we have to learn. We have to have outlets, because you were talking about our mask. Yeah. And for years, I had the military, then I had that situation, and I had to have this mask on for everybody, for the military, for my wife, for my kids, for just society. I had to put these different masks on, and it wasn't even the same mask. It was just different masks because, like I said, I got to be this guy. I got to be Sergeant so-and-so in the military. Everybody know I'm Sergeant Chinky. He don't play, that's Sergeant. So, but then I get home and I got to be, a father, and then I got to be a husband, and there was all these masks I had to wear. And I'll never forget, one day I was literally driving down the street and a song came on, and it just hit me. Like it just hit me. And I literally almost crashed. I had to pull over to the side, and I just sat there for I don't even know how long. A police car actually pulled up behind me and checked to see if I was okay. But I was sitting there, and the song hit me. But it made me realize that I have too much in, like I have all this stuff in me. Yeah. And as men, we have to learn how to find an outlet, because if you don't get that out, I promise you it's going to come out at the wrong time or the wrong situation. You may take a minor argument, and because you got all this stuff built up in you, it'll turn into something huge. Right. And we don't know. And the thing about it is we still learning. We're still learning how to exercise these demons that we have. And I do on Tuesdays, I was telling you, on Tuesdays we have this thing called Dreams in Action, where we have black men. We have a podcast. We sit back, and last week we talked about men suffer in silence. And what we're learning how to do is get black men together, and we're learning how to, what you're saying, build a community. We're learning how to get this community together so we can sit down and we can discuss military brothers, civilian brothers, black men in general, and that to me is the biggest key to taking these masks off. We don't have community that support vulnerable black men. We don't have community that support emotional black men. Yeah. So a lot of time we have to either build it, or we just literally just hold on to it. Just put the mask back on and go back to what we're doing.
Build it or bear it.
That's it. And hope somebody show up.
That's good. Wow. Chris, did you want to gain any insights on what it's like to have that mask?
Oh, well, they gave great expounding on the issue. I think that what is the reason why we hold on to that mask is as far as knowing who you are, your actual identity. When you define yourself by society, you think that you have to be tough. I think I can't show emotion, and that in itself makes you suppress. And like Raymond said, and I fell into this when I was a 17-year-old, I got into a fight and I got arrested. I just suppressed. I didn't have anyone to safely express who I was to, or that frustrations were being teased, and so it built up, to the point that, again, I did explode. And it was somebody said something in class to me, and I just went off. And so that what you're saying is true. We need those safe spaces where if I say something to you, even your significant other, if I say something to my significant other one day, I would hope that it's not brought back in an argument. Or she doesn't use it to belittle me. And then at that point, I'll shut down. And it did happen to me.
And that's another thing, too. And that's why I say judgment is one of the things why we don't come out like that, because we're afraid that you may use that one day against me. I might give you something personal, and then we get in an argument, and you'll turn around and be like, use that. Or I'll be afraid that you might go and, you tell your best friend, or tell you and your mama sitting there talking, man, guess what he told me? And but again, and that's one of the main reasons why we do hold on our masks. We do hold on to all this, because if I share something with you, I don't want you to share that with nobody else. That's us. But I also don't want it to come back in my face. Because like being in the military, like, it's a lot of things I don't tell my wife, because I don't want her to have this depiction of me now, because she know what I did in the military. And that's another thing. That's, to me, it may not be judgment, but to me it's judgment. Like when you look at me differently now, you're judging me. You see me differently now. And I don't want that either. I don't want you to see me. I want you to still see who I am, but I don't want you to see me now, like, oh, look at him. We don't want that.
But where does that come from?
Life.
Life in general.
Even those thoughts. Where does it come from? That I cannot articulately express because you might see me in that way.
Personal experience.
Personal experiences.
It comes from TV, music, and my peers. I think those all those.
Society in general.
So once again, societal norms, right?
Yes.
Normal.
I never see, like me, like I've never been a society normal. I've never succumbed to what society had defined for a man. I've never been that guy. I've always been what you see me as a man. That's the only thing I've ever defined myself as, what that black woman see me as. And I've never been because I was raised by black women. Literally, I was my grandma, my mom, my auntie, my cousins, all females, mostly all females.
Yeah.
And so I was raised by them. So it was always, I would see what a man did with them, or what he did to them, or how he treated them. And if he treated them bad, I knew what not to do, or he treated her good. I watched that. And then it wasn't until I was 18, I was literally I was 17, and my best friend, her father, was the first man, like real father man, who I looked up to, like was the first man I ever said, okay, this is who I want to be like. And I wasn't until I was literally 17, and that was the first time I actually seen what a man is supposed to be.
And I think that, and that's the reason that I asked Ray, like, where does that come from? Because like you said, being raised by women, you heard conversations. You heard conversations, and you probably heard a lot of negative conversations about men. And as a young man, growing up yourself, you take those things on. And when you get into a relationship with a woman, it's like, you remember what your auntie and them used to say, your mama and them, grandma and them. And it's like, I'm not going to do this, because I remember when I was little, all the conversations they had about this man. And so in the back of your head, I cannot be free with this woman, because she is going to do exactly what I saw my mama, my auntie, my sisters, grandma. I'm going to see exactly.
But that's what I was saying, like, for me to tell you something, like growing up seeing women, y'all see you sit back and then y'all discuss stuff and y'all talk about this, and I've seen it, guess what he told me, and blah, 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 guess what? And so I'm sitting back and going, okay, wait a minute, if she telling this man business, I'm not finna tell this man my business.
So it all stems back to rejection. At the end of the day, it all goes back.
That is rejection.
To exactly.
Yes,
so to
rejection.
rejection.
It's rejection because you don't want you want to have somebody. Everybody wants somebody that they can share stuff with.
Right.
But men are not comfortable sharing when we think that it's. If I share stuff with you, it's on Facebook.
Right.
If I share stuff with you, now it's on Instagram.
It's on Twitter, it's on TikTok. Right.
But every time I share something with you, I got to read about it in a post somewhere.
So how do we overcome that? And I think that's where we are. How do we, knowing the root, knowing how it happens, knowing that it's environment, that it is, the stigmas, how do we say, okay, I know where it is, I know where I got it from. I am 40-something years old. I'm 30-something. I'm 50. How do you address it and say, okay, how do I overcome it? And then teach the next generation to stay away from that. How do we do that?
Well, like what you were saying, you said it's not, you don't base your actions or whatever off society, but you were still a product of your environment.
That's true.
So the thing is, we have to do some self-reflection and realize that we don't have to be a product of our environment. We don't have to let that define who we are.
I like that. Say it again.
We define ourselves.
Right.
So
it's redefining.
Yes, redefining who you are.
Yeah.
And really, to know God is to know yourself. So you really have to go in and have a relationship with God so that you can see yourself the way he sees you instead of the way society sees you, or instead of the way society says, well, you're this because of that.
Right.
And even in your family, because you have to break generational curses, because just because they saw and they said doesn't make who I am.
Right.
So we have to break that. And we can't let them define who we are. You're going to be this. And define what success is.
Right.
That's another big one that leaves holes in our hearts, because we let society define what success is. So we're chasing that success, but God gave us gifts and talents that will take us down this road. Right. But society is saying success is down this road. So I'm going to go down this road, and I can have $1 million in the bank, but I'm still not happy because that's not what I was supposed to be doing.
Wow.
That's why I say success, but I have wealth.
Right.
See, that's where I look at it. When you say you want success, I don't need success. I have wealth. I have family. Yep. I have friends. I have me. I know who I am now. That to me is wealth. That is. Yep. And when I say generation, I teach my son. I have 2 sons, and even my oldest son will be 21 next year. And even when I see him, I kiss him on the forehead. Those are my sons, and I show them that you can express yourself. You have to learn, because as men, we should be able to express ourselves without it being something totally different. And so when I teach my sons that, and I let them know that, and they know, Dad may not always, I don't say it like I'm supposed to. I don't always say it, because as a man, we don't do it like we're supposed to, but I show them all the time. And that's one thing I always let my sons know. I will always show you that I love you. That's good. Even if you don't always hear it from me like you're supposed to. Like I said, I always, before I walk out the door, I kiss them on the forehead. Before I walk out the door, even if they don't, even when they come in the house or I walk out the door, I kiss them on the forehead, let them, and that's me showing them that I love them. Because I didn't get that from my grandfather. I didn't get that growing up. We didn't express it, we didn't say it. You just supposed to assume it because he's there, or he's still in the house. That doesn't mean he loves you or something, But that's how I was growing up.
Yes.
Dalton, I can tell that there's something.
It's just to answer your question, like you said, redefining and instilling that self-love. Yeah. You have to instill that self-love because without it, we can send our kids down a path of destruction.
Yeah.
And like we were talking earlier, like when we have that mask, how to take it off, how to unmute, and in our community, it's changing now. But in our community, we don't do counseling. It's important that you open up yourself, allow yourself to be vulnerable, and because there's strength in vulnerability.
Yeah.
It really
So
is.
allow yourself to be vulnerable. Go and talk to somebody.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, Dalton. I'm going to ask media to go ahead and put those words and those nuggets on there. And so, because what we're really looking for when we say, overcoming is what are some of those practical application steps? So, destigmatize what manhood is. So, go ahead and put that up. Destigmatize manhood, and then destigmatize seeking help.
Yes.
Right? So,
Yes.
mental health. Some type of therapy so that you can have open communication and then be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable.
You got to trust somebody sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that
Be
seeking
vulnerable.
help, it don't always have to be professional.
Yeah.
If you get a community enough where you can sit down and talk to your brothers.
Trusted people.
Right. Long as it's somebody you trust with what you're telling them,
Right.
that is, like I said, that is
Yeah.
the biggest. If you got a best friend that you think you can trust with your secrets or whatever's on your mind, if you think you, and sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger because they don't know you and you don't think they can judge you.
Right.
Right.
You're not gonna go back and tell nobody you know. So sometimes it's easier. If it's easier for you to do that, then that's an outlet. But my thing was I just like to talk to people that understand what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Like with the military, if it's a military thing, I call my military brothers up.
Right.
Because again, I don't. It's nothing against nobody else. It's just I don't think you really, you would never understand what I'm going through.
Exactly.
And then, but if like my brother right here, he was in the military, he was having problems, call me.
Yeah.
We can still sit down and talk about anything, and that's just, I think long as we have somebody in our corner that we trust, I think that goes a long way as far as help.
Yeah. That's good. That's very good.
Yeah, no, that's good. So Dalton, you brought up something that I just think is really important for us to transition. Today's topic is about men overcoming hurt, and you talked about self-love. With the mask that men wear, so many men are taught to perform, to measure their value by how they perform or how they show up. So when we're talking about self-love, we're talking about taking that performance and turn it on yourself. First of all, I guess the question is that something that is easy for men to do? And the next question would be, how do men start that process of showing themselves self-love?
So first, it's not easy for men to do because, as Dalton said earlier, the stigma when men in the word love, we tend to shy away from that. I know the second man to tell me he loves me, I think was my dad. Well, I can't even remember, but Antoine, he said he loved me when I came to Killeen. We went to the same church, and I froze. I'm like, this dude, it's funny, but he said it, and I had to accept the fact. Oh, it's okay for a man to say that he loves you, and so just for a man to accept love first, and then of course. The way that you get self-love or the way you accept it first is knowing who you are in Christ.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Knowing your maker, because again, you can't fully accept yourself except you fully accept who made you. And then with that being said, you look at your gifts. What do you do well?
Yeah.
You take personality tests. Measure, ask close friends. What do they see that you do well? What career do you think that you would shine in? Just have that. You need a community first and foremost, and then you need to know just what you do well, and then again, getting to know God so that you have this full gambit of adjectives that you can associate with yourself that just aren't I'm tough, I'm strong, but you can also be good at cooking, you can be good at organizing and still be a man. I mean, there's so many adjectives that can be associated with yourself. And then lastly, as a man, we have to realize that we are more than our last mistake.
Yes.
Whatever we did in our past does not define us. Even if you have a habit of doing it, you can overcome it. There's so many examples of men who have overused with their past scenarios to empower somebody else.
Yes.
Romans 8:28 says that, again, you can do all things, but again, what is used in your past can be used to empower other people.
Yeah.
So God you will literally use what you went through.
Amen.
Again,
Amen.
Yeah, so.
Yes.
Amen. Amen.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was like to jump on what he was saying earlier. Like me, I love to cook. Everybody, me, I've been cooking for years. I some days I get in my kitchen and it's depending on how I'm feeling, and I just, I throw down in the kitchen. I'm a beast. I'm a beast in the kitchen, the grill, everything, and I learned to use that. That was one of my therapeutical things. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna go out here. If I'm feeling a certain way, I go out there. It be time when my wife's come on and be like, "You okay?" And I'll be like, yeah. She's like, okay, well, I see all the food. And I'll be like,
So it's therapeutic for you, and it's how you show love.
I'll be like, you know,
part of your love language.
I had a day. I just had to come home and let this out. So, you know, enjoy, because it's pain in that right there. That's all. That's pain.
Amen.
That's flavor. That's good.
All right, so it's therapeutic, and it's also the way you show love, and it's your love language. Yes. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today on Overcomers Talk. I feel like this show should have been longer.
It should.
It should have been longer. There's just so many different. I think we only touched on one aspect of men overcoming hurt, and that one aspect was rejection. And we know that there's so many other aspects, such as abandonment, and just not feeling like you belong anywhere. Right? And so they're different. So today, men overcoming hurt, we talked about particularly rejection. So again, thank you so much. I want to hear from each of you, and then Dr. Liz before we close, just real briefly, because I see we have about 2.5 minutes left. So just real briefly, if you could just look out there and speak directly to a man who may be feeling like, yeah, this is where I am right now, but I'm not too sure how to, like, I hear everything you're saying, but I don't know the next step. If you can just take some time and just speak to a man right out here who needs to hear from other men.
Well, first I want to say, as a man, do know that where you are is not where you will be. Your situation is currently temporary. And along with that, just learn to think about what you're thinking about, meaning that what your feelings right now, they're not facts. The fact is that, again, the God of the universe is in charge of your situation. So again, if you're a man and you're stuck in a situation, please make sure to consider that there have been people who have been through worse and they have overcome. So again, it is possible through Christ for you to overcome your current situation to help others.
Seek help. Do not be afraid to speak freely. Find somebody that you trust. Find somebody that you respect, because that is so important as well, that you can get those out. It doesn't matter if it's man or woman. If you know anybody here, they can give you my number. You can call me. I will sit down and listen. But you need to learn to get that out of your before it comes out the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen.
And yea, though I walk through the valley of death, you're not supposed to camp out. You walking through it. It's a journey, but you don't have to stay there. Seek counseling, and if you have men around you that you can talk to, it's okay. Talk to them. It's okay to be vulnerable. They're here to help you, and I'm sure you have brothers that will be there for you. Open up, go to them, but you have to communicate it.
Awesome. And then Dr. Liz, just to anybody out there who would like to hear.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is the importance of maintaining trust. If you have a man in your life that is willing to open up and share and communicate, then honor that. Honor their words, honor what's said to you, and allow that to be that safe space so that our men can continue to open up and have that place to be able to express the pain that they're feeling so they can also heal.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, men, Dr. Liz, everybody, thank you so much for being on the panel here today. And for those of you who were listening, if you are someone who is in need and you're seeking, you would like somebody to talk to, you can contact us here at openfireif.org. Go to the website, openfireif.org. Go to the contact page and send us an email and somebody will respond to you. Or even right here on Facebook, go to our messenger and send us a message and we will connect you to one of our pastors in the church. So please, you do not have to go through anything alone. You can reach out to us. And again, thank you so much for joining us on Overcomers Talk. Next week, we'll have a talk panel with our other co-hosts. So join us next week. We'll be back with another real people talking about real issues on Overcomers Talk. Good night.